Hey there guys, this is Sam
And Justin.
at the Survival Review, and today we're doing a top 5, but it's my top 5 and his top 5, so it's like twice the top 5 times 10 math class. So,
Yeah.
the top 5 movies that we always watch in Halloween
Yeah, in
Okay.
that month.
in the month of October.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's get into it.
My number 5 is not one that I'm as big into watching during Halloween time. I love the movie, but it's not as big, but I like to watch it sometimes during Halloween. So, yeah, I mean. Anyway, number 5 is The Evil Dead. Great classic. Awesome movie.
Alrighty. Number 5 for me is my one of my favorite zombie movies of all time, and that is Return of the Living Dead.
It's great.
It's a fantastic movie. It
Fun
brings
movie.
so many cliches. It's such a fun,
Yeah.
just awesome zombie movie.
It does bring
brings so
clich-
many cliches into the zombie series.
Yeah. It's really original. It's
Yeah.
a really original movie. I first saw it on TV. I was just like, oh, it's just a zombie movie. Then just like,
No,
it's a little bit different than I would have expected. So
and it's
really a good one.
fantastic. I really love it. Number 4. Okay.
Okay, my number 4 is I'm a big fan of the Halloween Michael Myers series. That's like my favorite film franchise. You'll see if I ever do a room tour, and you'll see what I mean. But so hard to pick. I love the first 4 movies. Those are my top like Halloween movies. But for this list, I'd have to go with Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, just because that one has a ton of like. Just I don't know, some moments. I remember watching this movie a lot during Halloween time. Like I remember watching it last year when I was sick, and I just threw it on because it was on TV. Thank you, AMC. And just like there's a lot of stuff in that I think of when I think of Halloween, like that song. You're like 8 more days till Halloween, the most annoying song ever. But I still think of it when I
Oh
think
my
of
God.
Halloween. And in general, it's a really good movie too. You know?
Yeah, I really enjoy that movie too. People
Yeah, it's
down
really-
on it a lot, but
But
I
it's a really
enjoy
good
it.
one. I do kind of think of a Halloween season when I think of Halloween 3 a lot.
Number 4 for me has got to be Evil Dead 2.
That's a great
Uh,
one.
he chose Evil Dead 1 for his number 5. Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead series is one of my favorite series of all time. You'll see that in my room tour coming up. I am just a huge fan.
Yeah, Evil Dead's great.
Yeah.
It's Evil Dead.
Yeah, and you got the
Evil Dead sucks.
remake coming out.
It doesn't look terrible. But Evil Dead 2 is where the series really picks up, and it's really much more like a comedy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still really horror. And
Yeah,
it's
it's the perfect
fun,
balance
yeah.
between horror and comedy,
yeah, it's
in my
perfect.
opinion.
It's a great
And that's
film.
why it's my number 4 to
Mhm.
always watch in Halloween.
All right.
Number 3!
All right, number 3 is The Exorcist for me, because like it was one of the ones that I actually didn't watch till a little bit after I was introduced to all these horror movies, and since it's like, it's always considered like the scariest movie of all time. I always try to watch it once every Halloween, and not like not like every month or whenever I feel like it. I try to just wait and watch it every Halloween, and not only that, it's a great film, it's a really creepy movie,
Yeah.
and I got
Considered by many to be one of the scariest movies of all time.
I got lucky last year when for my show when I decided to watch it last year. I actually got to see it in theaters. Sam came along.
Yeah, I came along.
It was hosted
and,
by Linda Blair. Who
yeah, she was there, and Mr. Big Shot got
Yeah.
her autograph.
Yeah. So and so yeah, that's kind of
I'm not Mr. Big Shot. If that confused you, he's Mr. Big Shot in this situation.
yeah, and it's just one of those ones that like since it has such a high, you know what I mean, just like highly regarded that I decided to try to watch it only every Halloween, and yeah, it's just great, really creepy movie, and it's just cool to wait and watch it every Halloween, just like
Yeah.
build up to it.
Number 3 for me is mainly a comedy, but it's a horror-themed comedy, and that's Ernest Scared Stupid. This movie just has such a place in my heart. It was a movie that I absolutely loved when I was little, and it creeped me out too when I was little because the effects in it are actually very good. The monster effects on the troll, and it's just a fantastic, like slapstick comedy in some
Yeah,
portions.
Ernest is
and-
always fun.
yeah, Ernest. I mean, you gotta love Ernest.
Yeah.
And I love a lot of the Ernest movies. I hate some of them, but
yeah.
I definitely love a bunch
Has
of the
ups and
Ernest movies.
downs. Yeah.
But this is by far my favorite Ernest movie, and a movie that I always find myself
And
watching.
one of the few I haven't seen actually.
It's one of the only you haven't seen.
There's a good amount. There's a good amount I haven't seen, but like that's one of the few ones that are highly regarded that I haven't seen.
If you guys haven't seen that, you definitely need to check that out. Just do it. Number dose to nibble.
My number 2 is not like a highly regarded classic, but it's the Frighteners, the Peter Jackson film, and it's just a movie that when I first saw it, I have it on VHS. When I was younger, I always wanted to watch it because the cover has like that ghost face on it. It's really creepy, but I wasn't allowed to because it was rated R. And it was just one year I was waiting to watch a movie that was on TV at like 1 in the morning for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm like, what am I gonna do? It was in October, and I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'll just watch Frighteners. I haven't seen that, and I just fell in love with the movie. Like, the atmosphere in the movie is great. The movie's hilarious, and it's one of those ones I have to watch every Halloween. I don't know why. It just became one of those movies that like every Halloween I just have to sit down and watch it because it's a highly original movie. Have you seen?
Yes.
That's good. I was making sure you weren't saying much there. So like it's highly original.
It's been a long time, but I've seen it.
Yeah, it's really well acted, and it doesn't like it is one of those movies that does kind of start out as like a goofy comedy and slowly kind of becomes serious, you know, kind of like the movie Kick-Ass, how it's like a fun movie and at the end they're being tortured and stuff, but it does it really well, and it doesn't feel like awkward. That slowly kind of switches, and then like the acting is great. Got what's his name? He was in Reanimator. He was Herbert West in Reanimator.
I don't know the name of that actor.
Like he's this guy who was trying to stop Michael J. Fox, and he's like this insane character, and he's hilarious. He's probably my favorite part of the movie, and just great movie.
All right, and my number 2, it all started out like it was the first zombie movie I ever saw, and a lot of the time the first zombie movie a lot of people see, and that's Night of the Living Dead. It's a fantastic movie. I've already watched it this month, and it's something that years back we had this big box set of horror movies, and usually if you have a box set of horror movies, Night of the Living Dead is in there because it is public domain, and I watched it for the first time in that box set. Me and my mom sat down, we watched it, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I have watched it every year during October since then, and that was at least 6 years ago.
It's one of those ones that I actually like to at least have on.
Yeah.
Like it was on TV a few days ago actually, and I had it on like the whole time, even though I wasn't watching it the whole time, but like just in the background because it has such another one of those great like Halloween feels to it.
It does.
That I just have to see every Halloween.
Oh wait, one thing I wanted to do. You want to do some honorable mentions, like movies that we were considering putting on the list?
Okay.
All right. So before we get to our number ones that you're so anxiously awaiting, we're gonna do some honorable mentions. There are a few movies that I wanted to put on my list that just didn't really have room for because it is a top 5. You have any that you want to say?
Well, I have, as I mentioned before, some of the Halloween sequels. Up to like I don't really care to watch H2O that much during Halloween time or Resurrection because that one's just bad. But like
I like to pretend that one doesn't exist.
And like a lot of the Halloween sequels, I just like to have one of those movies coming. I lived there. I like to at least have them on during October, just because like I was introduced to those movies in October, and I taped them off TV and I watched them all at least like 6 or 7 times in the span of that month. So I just one of those series that's really well.
Yeah.
And any of the Universal monster movies, I love to just at least try to watch those. I don't get to a lot, but I try to watch any of those. Frankenstein being my all-time favorite monster movie.
I was actually a bigger fan of Dracula myself, but
when I was younger, I was always Frankenstein. For me, I have a giant door-sized, like almost like poster kind of Frankenstein.
Wow.
It was like 2 inches taller than my door, so I couldn't put it up. But I have that sitting in my room.
Nice. And some honorable mentions for me, there are a lot, but one that I was very close to putting on the list was Gremlins, because that's another one of my favorite movies of all time. Ghostbusters,
Good one.
which the reason I didn't put that on is because I see that as like a movie I can watch anytime.
Yeah, that's true. I can.
And there's that, and then there's Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 1.
Yeah.
I was all, but I didn't want to have.
I said Evil Dead 1, but either of the sequels
Yeah.
I could watch too. Not just one.
And what was that other? It was Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Any of the Romero films. Speaking of, you were talking about Peter Jackson. I always like to watch Dead Alive.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Around
That's a
Halloween
fun
time,
one.
because that's another classic zombie movie.
Yeah.
And if you want a gore fest, definitely watch it. If you haven't seen that, just look up the lawnmower scene on YouTube, and you will instantly want to watch that movie.
That's what happened with me. You showed me the one more scene. Ever since I'm like, I've been interested. You know,
Yeah?
I was
You
interested.
still haven't seen it?
No, yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
We watched it at your house.
Oh yeah.
After the Romero, I thought.
Yeah, we did. All right. So number one.
I'm gonna do the best with you.
Ooh, no.
I'm not gonna. For number one, I'll go first because mine's the most cliche and obvious. But I have to say this: it is the original John Carpenter's Halloween. Even though I mean it's kind of an obvious coming from what I've been saying, but it's just one of those ones. Same thing as the series, right? I watched it a ton of times in October, which just has the perfect October feel to it out of any movie. Like whenever I'm walking home from school in October and the leaves are falling, I always hear music from that movie just playing in my head. The
Yeah.
music of them, like when they're walking, just talking, not like the theme. I don't listen to that, but that music just in my head whenever I'm walking. It has the perfect October feel. It's obviously one of my third favorite movies of all time, so it is my third. And it just like whenever Halloween, like the month comes into my mind, I start to think of the movie, the
Yeah.
original, just because it's one of those ones. And
Now,
so-
I actually didn't see the original Halloween until like just a year and a half, 2 years ago when he introduced me to it. So I'm actually not choosing that. I'm not going with the cliche.
I have to. If it's a great movie, I have to go with it.
Well, I'm going with a movie that I was
No, this is
introduced to
no.
years ago. I'm gonna have to go with the Monster Squad. And
That's a good one.
the Monster Squad, I was introduced to this movie years and years ago
Like,
by my father, who got me a copy. I was in a big zombie phase, and in the zombie phase, it was kind of like a horror phase as well. And my father got me this movie, this nice DVD of the Monster Squad, and I never opened it for one reason. I didn't open it until like 2 years after I got it, for the one reason that the cover art on that was not good.
no,
No.
the cover.
The cover art on it was bad, and I thought it looked like a crappy newer movie. And then I read on the
cover
back.
art's way modern.
Yeah,
It's not
I read on
bad.
I read on the back that it's from the 80s, and I was like, maybe it's just crappy cover art, and I was absolutely right. It was
Yes,
crappy cover
it
art,
was.
and I watched that movie, fell in love with it instantly. That was, God, 7 years ago, I think.
I just saw it recently, but I really liked it.
It was like 7 or 8 years ago, and the reason he saw it is because my dad is also a fool, and he got me the same exact DVD for Christmas after he got it for me for my birthday, so I ended up giving
Well,
him
actually,
one
I
of
saw it
mine.
before that. When I was at your house, and I'm like, oh, Monster Squad, 2 copies. So
And
that's
so,
that's how I saw it again. Actually,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have seen it again if it wasn't that. Cause I rented it like a while ago because I've heard like good things about it.
And I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I've watched it every October since then, like
It's
7 or 8
such
years ago.
It's a great throwback to like the Universal monsters and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not like zombies
it's
or like
an incredible
psychos.
film, such a quotable film.
Yeah.
I
such a fun.
I mean, like, Wolfman's got nards, and I mean, it's just such classic lines in that. It's like a perfect combination of Goonies and
Yeah.
classic
Yeah.
horror.
That's what it is. Just-
Because I've also mentioned that Goonies is another one of my favorite movies of all time. So, yeah. So number one for me, Monster Squad. Number one for him
Halloween.
because he's a cliched,
no,
silly man. Anyway,
I wouldn't say that.
this is Sam, and
Justin.
this guy doesn't want to speak.
Sorry, my name's
at,
Justin. If
at
you
the
didn't know.
Survival Review, and we will see you guys later.
Yep.
Happy Halloween.